שום סימן חיים? אללהו אכבר! אללהו אכבר!
We were cooking together and laughing and doing everything like how we knew how to do it. And now it's like you have a big hole in the house. Everything it's not the same. It can't be the same.
Every time I've been here, there's been explosions. Honestly, we kind of like it. Obviously, I would like it to be finished. But so long as it's not finished, I don't want quiet.
And once again, Egypt shall say, we want to work with you. We cannot stand against you. For that terrorist organization has now been brought to nothing.
So President Trump's push for peace in the Middle East is at a critical crossroads today, as Israel and Hamas hold indirect talks in Egypt to iron out the details of the president's 20-point plan.
And I will bring friendship for a season, and many of the enemies that now stand shall be non-existent, says the Spirit of God. It shall take 2 years, but watch how I bless Israel.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio told Fox News Sunday he's hopeful the hostages may be coming home.
I think that we are the closest we have been in a very long time to having no hostages held by Hamas, either living or deceased. The second part of this, and it's going to be a much tougher part of it, is what happens after that? Who's going to run Gaza moving forward? It can't be Hamas. It can't be a terrorist organization.
President Trump sounded positive on Truth Social and impatient. He wrote, I am told that the first phase should be completed this week, and I am asking everyone to move fast. I will continue to monitor this centuries-old conflict. Time is of the essence, or massive bloodshed will follow, something that nobody wants to see. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says it's now up to Hamas.
Well, we accepted the deal, as did all the world. It was President Trump's plan. Hamas says that it accepted the deal. Now the onus is on Hamas.
Welcome to Analysis. My name is Donné, Clement, Petruska. Today and this week, we've looked back at what happened on the October 7th attack in Israel by Hamas. And my dad not only saw that it would take 2 years, but also we watch as the negotiations are happening in Egypt. And we have in prophecy what my dad foresaw about the relationship between Israel and Egypt. And so Christie Desfontaine is here to discuss this as usual.
Yeah.
Welcome, Christie.
Thank you.
And we are amazed once again, but there's definitely a heaviness. This week, and you know, there's a lot of division. You know, we see what's happening on the left, and sort of these eruptions of celebration from the pro-Palestinian groups. And then even on our own side, there's wild conspiracy theories. And anti-Semitism on the right and conservative side. So this was something, of course, we know Dad prophesied about with the Fourth Reich, and we've discussed this a lot. But we have something to look at today.
Yes.
In regards to Egypt, because they are having the peace talks in Egypt.
Yes.
So
which is crazy.
We, you know, shift our focus from all the news and noise around us, because we remember these things that were prophesied. And so why don't we have a look quickly? This was on January 11th of 2014. Dad was in Camarillo, California. So let's have a look at that. It's a short clip from it, but let's have a look at that and we'll come back.
And the Lord says there is a fresh dew that is coming from the heavens that will fertilize your lives and remove barrenness completely. Enough of this barrenness, says the Spirit of God. There is enough barrenness of the soul, a barrenness of the soul of America, barrenness of the soul of the nations. God said barrenness is coming to an end, and there will be a fertilization of your souls and the soul of this nation and the soul of Israel. And I will defend you, says the Lord, and I will take Egypt. And once again, Egypt shall say, we want to work with you. We cannot stand against you. For that terrorist organization has now been brought to nothing. God says, I will raise up those who are righteous in Egypt, and they will bless Israel again, says the Lord.
That is incredible. So what is happening now in Egypt, Christie?
So the thing that's so crazy...
What is actually going on? They're negotiating. Who's there?
So, there's a bunch of different Arab states and nations that have come to the table. Obviously, we've got, representatives from Europe. We've got representatives from Israel, from the US, and everything is focused on this quote-unquote peace deal that President Trump has put forward, and we're going to get more into that in a minute, but we're going to play another prophecy for you first before that happens. But the crazy thing about what your dad said there, Donné, and I'm reading this off of my phone, he says, and I will defend you, says the Lord, and I will take Egypt, and once again Egypt shall say, we want to work with you, for we cannot stand against you. For that terrorist organization has now been brought to nothing, God says. I will raise up those who are righteous in Egypt, and they will bless Israel again. Now, what he's referencing there, and I know this, he's referencing what happened after the plagues. After Moses was raised up as the deliverer for God's people, and he went to Pharaoh and said, let my people go. That is what the God of Israel says, let my people go. And after the plagues had occurred, the Egyptians were pouring out gold, and they were giving gifts to the Israelis, trying to get them out of the land, because they were like, what is happening here? We cannot stand against these people. So what your dad is referencing here is a time before when, again, the cry that was coming out from a Moses figure, from Moses himself, was let my people go. And what we're seeing now is that this place, Egypt, which is where Israel ironically was captive for 400 years, where this place that was seen as a place of plague and famine and pestilence, Kim's word is Egypt shall bless Israel again. So we're seeing fulfillment of that, which is wild. And before this, Egypt's historic role has been enemy. Most of the time it's been enemy, but again, we're seeing here prophecy fulfillment. Now we're seeing its present role as a mediator. Now, there was a peace treaty that was made with Egypt back in 1973, but what that was the Americans again putting pressure on the Israelis to give up a disproportionate amount of the peninsula to Egypt for a pseudo-peace in order to have the Egyptians not attack the Israelis. And before President Trump came on board and before the Abraham Accords, this was one of only 2 peace treaties in the region. But the accuracy of your dad here is what blew me away, and I've heard this before, but it's been a long time, we want to work with you, for we cannot stand against you. And then he says, for that terrorist organization has now been brought to nothing. That right there, Hamas was a presence in 2014, but nothing like now. Nothing like what we've seen now, Donné. So this is crazy.
Really, it is. And we look around us and we see it erupting everywhere. And even Dinesh D'Souza has come. I haven't seen the film yet, but he's come out with a new film, and I've heard it's really good. And I plan to watch it. I think it's streaming on Rumble on Thursday. Dragons something, I can't remember the name of it, but I'm seeing the discussion is very heavily Israel. Those who are against Israel, those are for Israel, and this sort of, I didn't expect this divide, and so it's been kind of a strange week, I suppose, because we see it. It's a topic of discussion
I think what's
everywhere,
terrifying
but
is
it's a necessary discussion.
It's the 2-year time frame he gives, Donné, and I know that we're about to go into a prophecy that talks about that, and we're going to get there in a second. But when you think about where the world was in terms of the way Israel was viewed, since October 7th, the anti-Semitism has risen. the view, the right has come out, the far right and
That
the far
doesn't make
left.
sense to
No,
me.
it doesn't. It's not logical because it's demonic. Because what we're seeing is the only bit of unity, and I say this every week, the only bit of unity we see between the right and the left, and this has escalated since October 7th, 2023, is a hatred of Israel, a hatred of Jews, and a blaming of Israel. You spoke about this on Codebreakers, Donné, the most insane conspiracy theories against Israel coming from the right.
Yes. And it's shaken me a little. I did actually watch a documentary on the October 7th attack. It was a 4-part documentary I came across, and actually sat there and watched it and listened to the witnesses. And it just doesn't make sense to me. These were innocent victims.
Yes.
And everybody jumps anytime they can find something that they can blame Israel for. There's a complete disregard for the absolute massacre of innocent people, and not just adults, children.
Yes, Donné, babies.
And, you know, if that were to happen in the United States of America, if that were to happen in the United States of America, what do you think America's response would be if over 1,000 Americans were slaughtered and massacred in their homes and out in the streets? Not soldiers in battle, but just in their homes. And I hadn't actually seen the area as well until I watched the documentary, but I could see the people living in the kibbutzes there. You know, it's not like it's a fancy area. You know, it's a very simple area there.
Yes.
Yes. And, you know, I remember covering the kibbutzes years ago when we were looking at communism in Israel, which is, you know, it's sort of not, I don't want to say communism, but it is kind of like that, the kibbutzes, the way they live. But that happened at the very beginning of Israel.
It was necessary at the time for them to work the land.
You know, you look at those communities. Yes, and they amended things until they became what they are now. But you still have some of these little communities, these little kibbutzes, and it just broke my heart because it's not like these are, you know, they went after just innocence.
They were farmers,
with a rage, and it is demonic.
In essence, they're innocent little farmers.
Yeah,
working the land. You know, with your dad, we would go out into the Golan and, you know, up north, and one of my favorite kibbutzim is called Dekarina, and it's a little chocolate factory. And they get the cocoa beans and they make chocolate there, and you can go inside and have hot chocolate and buy little miniature Mount Hermons that are full of the most delicious caramel, let me tell you. And your dad and I sat there together and he watched me eat a whole bunch of the little Mount Hermons because of course he was fasting. But when you break it down to simple terms, it would be the equivalent of, you know, you sending your teenage child to Coachella, or to the Burning Man Festival, or to one of these music festivals, Stagecoach, or Lollapalooza, or any festival in America, and people parachuting in and just slaughtering them en masse for doing nothing other than attending a music festival out in the middle of nowhere, doing absolutely nothing wrong, just dancing, singing, having a good time. And that's what we're seeing, is that who they targeted were the most disarmed, innocent civilians. In the kibbutz itself, I mean, yes, every Israeli is trained, thank God, you know, because the army is mandatory, but it would be in essence, it's the same thing as a bunch of farms being attacked by this crazy militant group who ripped pregnant women open and tore out the babies and burned people and raped these girls, and that's what we saw happen. And these are the people that we're seeing the left celebrate, and we're now seeing the right excuse. It's demonic.
Yes, that really gets to me, because to try to excuse it because, Israel did anything. You know, it's unnatural, I think, is the point I'm trying to get to. And you can really see that it's demonic. And so we continue to pray against that. And it's important to recognize what is going on. I noticed in the prophecy he said this terrorist organization that's been brought to nothing. And this year we've seen Iran and their nuclear plans taken out with the help of President Trump and
Yes.
in America. And I remember him prophesying about what God was going to do in the United States of America and Israel at the same time.
Yeah.
And you can go all the way back to 1996 when he prophesied 9/11 and pinpointed who the enemy was, being the beast of the east.
Yes.
And we've watched Israel dismantle the three main, Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis. Throughout this year, we've seen them being taken out and weakened. So as much noise as everybody makes on both sides who have an issue with the Jews, what is very promising here is that Israel has successfully dismantled these terrorist organizations. And people need to remember that it's not just for Israel, it's for all of the West. And they've done it alone, which is what my dad saw. He saw them standing alone and prophesied that, which we've covered. But the other thing he saw was the 2 years, the 2-year turnaround, which is amazing. And this was October 30th of 2014. We have a clip to play for you. He was again at the studio in Camarillo. So let's have a look at that, and then we'll come back.
Listen! Listen to the word of the Lord. What do I have planned for September? What about Israel? What I'm about to tell you, says the Spirit, is not only for the land of Israel and the people of Israel, but this is for you, says the Lord. The tide is turning for Israel. The tide is turning for you. What speak I of, says the Lord? A very strange thing shall happen in September. Moving into the fall, where there shall be a great fall. Fall of the enemies, fall of kings, fall of princes. I shall do a strange thing in Egypt again. For even as David met an Egyptian who was the son of a Amalekite, who had been rejected because he was sick, David was about to go and take back what was stolen from him. David and his men were tired, and they came to an Egyptian, fed him, and he revealed to them where the enemy was. I shall use Egypt again. Yes, for those who are insulted because Egypt was fed bread, and Egypt was fed by David, an Egyptian. And many have said, why do you help Egypt? But God says, for a season, I will reveal a strange thing. Some of those who have been enemies of Israel shall suddenly turn and change their tune for a season. And I will restore, and I will deliver, and I will bring friendship for a season. And many of the enemies that now stand shall be non-existent, says the Spirit of God. It shall take 2 years. 2 years. But watch how I bless Israel. Watch how the rain comes to America. Watch how the rain comes to my kingdom. Watch and see. For God says, beginning in September, I will turn everything around, and my people shall see an intervention of a kind that they have never seen before, says the Lord.
Wow. You know what was so interesting there to me, Christie, is when he's speaking about David feeding the Egyptian, he says, Egypt revealed to them where the enemy was. And I think when he's prophesying these things, those kind of things, it'll kind of pass you by, because you hear him say 2 years, and you're like, wow, he saw the 2 years, and he saw Egypt. But there's little clues in there, especially when he makes biblical reference within prophecy. there's a parallel or an alignment in the events.
Yes.
And so I find that very interesting because there are questions about who's done what over there in the Middle East. You know, we know Qatar and the Muslim Brotherhood and support from there, and we just saw them. And what's the name of Doha?
Yeah.
Is it Doha? In Qatar, I think, is where they bombed, and then the Qataris got so upset, and then Trump had to. And you know, a lot of that is obviously going to go on. This is such a tense situation. You can really feel the tension of it. You know, we're all the way over here in America, and we're just seeing things on the news and stuff like that, but you can really feel the tension of the moment. But Trump, who my dad prophesied would be the trumpet, would do these particular things and pointed out what he would do using Trump and Bibi Netanyahu, Israel and America at the same time. And Trump has gone in and using financial agreements and making deals, he's pulled them into a position where it is to their advantage, some of these other Middle Eastern countries, to align with Israel, because it, you know, even them, you'll notice none of them want to take any Palestinians in. They don't really want, because it does cause a lot of trouble. If you look at the border of Egypt and Gaza, it's I've never seen a border fence like that. I mean, the amount of barbed wire over the top, and so then, you know, those who would criticize, number one, criticize America for wanting to have a border at all. And you remember the group of activists who went over, and they were going to go through Egypt into Gaza, and met with the reality, because they, you know, it was a bunch of Europeans and Americans, you know, boomer aged activists, and really disconnected from the reality of what's going on. And they went marching in there, and the Egyptians are like, "You're not allowed to march." And they're like, "But we can protest. We should be able to march."
Not in Egypt.
But actually, no, that's not the way things work over there.
Nope.
You need to appreciate the freedoms you have in the West, which it seems to bypass people. And so, again, you know, when I see Greta Thunberg and her flotilla, which was funded by Hamas, by the way, and they're, you know, the 3 boxes of aid that they put on the boats, it's all PR.
Of course, it's PR.
But you see them, and I would say, you know, they want Israel to pick them up. And they want to have a big public, oh, we were taken hostage. Greta Thunberg filmed that before they went on the flotillas, filmed her video about being taken hostage. So it's very, very obvious. And I've said again and again, the Israelis should just let them go in.
I agree.
And call their bluff. Let them go in.
Go if you can. Take it.
I would love to see that.
Yeah.
But again, you know, again, you know, we see the behavior of people being unnatural. And then you also see the tactics, the very clever tactics, that some of these terror organizations, particularly Hamas, have used when it comes to propaganda and influencing people via social media, etc. And I think that, you know, Russia and China have their hand in that, in the propaganda. It's to their advantage, a lot of the stuff that's happened in the West.
Yeah, of course.
And so, you know, there's this bigger picture, and of course, Dad definitely prophesied a lot about that as well. And so we're beginning to see these prophecies that were all over here coming together into a picture, which is exactly what he used to tell me would happen with code breakers. He said one day it'll be like woven into a tapestry, and you'll see. And a tapestry is very good. He could have said picture, he could have said puzzle, but it is woven together. These events and what he prophesied, again, that were seemingly separate, are all woven together into one thing.
Yes.
And so we are beginning to see very, very clearly now as some years have passed.
We are.
And so, so we have the war. October 7th happened in 2023. We're now at the 2-year anniversary, as we hear Kim Clement shouting, it'll take 2 years. It'll take 2 years. Back in 2014, he's saying this. Here they are in Egypt, as he's seeing Egypt. And unusual alliances, Egypt, Qatar, and the United States. So there's some precision in here that would have been impossible for my dad.
Impossible.
On his own with his human brain.
Absolutely impossible.
To figure out or to guess that accurately. Somebody made a video that was going around social media where he was asking ChatGPT about my dad and the prophecies and the accuracy, and ChatGPT said it was impossible for anyone to have guessed. The likelihood of it was 1 in a trillion or something crazy of someone being able to guess that many things accurately. So he was hearing from God as he said he was.
Yes.
And we also, because we know him, and many people who watched him, know him through following and watching the ministry for years, understand that he really was just getting up there, prophesying what God was telling him, and not really thinking about it as much, certainly not as much as we are today, but he knew certain things, and he knew this would end up being this way. And so it's been incredible. And, I just want to encourage people to keep praying for Jerusalem and to keep, it breaks my heart. When I saw Bibi Netanyahu stand at the UN and all those people get up and walk out, it broke my heart.
Yeah, it was horrifying.
It breaks my heart when I see the way people accuse and, because, look, it's not like we're blindly just, the Israeli government is perfect. We understand that all governments have flaws and leadership makes mistakes. There's plenty of them made over here in the United States.
Everywhere.
And, we understand that. But again, that's another thing that people will use to try to just dump blame on Israel. And that's where the anti-Semitic thing is. So we really need to keep praying. I like we did on our prayer meeting last night, just pray that people see the truth. And that, we sort of... I feel like I'm in a position where I'm screaming and shouting on code breakers. I'm getting so mad. But I'm at a place now where I really feel like we need to trust God and have faith and give it to him and pray for these people to see on the left and on the right, that the truth be revealed to them. And it may take some Damascus Road conversions, as Dad prophesied would happen. But certainly interesting. But I'm sure you have some things to share on this as well, Christie.
I do. Obviously the accuracy with which your dad was prophesying is incredible. Like you said, statistically, genuinely impossible. And the thing that I want to just highlight here for anybody who's new in particular, Clement is the guy who prophesied all these crazy things, and it's impossible. What God showed him was impossible, and proof really of God's character, and then proof that he just, he anointed Kim for a time such as this. But one of the things that, not even one of, the biggest focus for Kim in the last 3 to 4 years of his ministry was Israel. It was like God just did something spectacular in his heart, and it was his biggest focus. And so I'm encouraging everybody, I'm gonna do a quick breakdown of this peace plan that we've been talking about, and then I know there's more stuff that we wanna share with you, more prophecy, etc. But I wanna encourage you, as I'm breaking this down, sow into Israel today, sow in defiance of what the spirit of anti-Semitism is doing. Psalm 122:6 tells us to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Genesis 12:3 is very explicit in saying, I will bless those who bless you. Speaking of Israel, saying, I will curse those who curse you. And Kim had a revelation of this. And every single time something went on in the media, anytime anything went on where people stood in defiance of Israel, he would get up and shout and call all of us to give and to sow and to partner with the nation of Israel and with the people of Israel and to do it in defiance of the spirit of the world. And so now I'm encouraging you to do that today. As peace talks are happening, as there's still all these hostages stuck in Gaza, 2 years on, we're in this 2-year time frame of a pivotal moment in prophecy that Kim foresaw. Click the red link, give, do it cheerfully, and allow God to work in your heart, and in defiance of the spirit that we see rising, the Fourth Reich that Kim foresaw. In defiance of that, click the link, give, and partner with us as we stand with Israel no matter what. But Donné, this plan overview that we see, and I'm encouraging you, everybody who's watching to give as I talk about this. The plan overview is actually incredibly logical to anybody with any vestige of reason. It's talking about wanting to see, obviously, a ceasefire occur, the hostages released. They're wanting to see Hamas disarmed. Obviously, we don't want to see Hamas with weapons. We're talking about a transitional governance under technocrats, reconstruction and aid with an economic zone. We're talking about a conditional roadmap where there isn't a statehood yet. We have to first see reforms. So the talks are currently underway in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. Hamas has agreed in principle, but they're refusing a full disarmament because at the end of the day, if they accept these terms as they're laid out, they're done. So they're holding on to the one thing they know that they've got, which is the people of Israel, because they're holding on to these hostages, and Israel is supporting the plan. They've yielded to the plan, but they're insisting on border and security control. And you know, you said it, Donné. All we had to do was look at the border with Egypt or with any of the other nations really that are surrounding these areas, and you see the crazy level of security and border control. There has to be a disarmed there has to be a disarmed Palestinian state, of course. When I say state, I mean area. There cannot be any arms involved. It cannot have a militia. There cannot be any sort of military involved. And where does the Arab states' role play in? Well, Israel now has to be the dominant power in the Middle East. They're the only democracy. Egypt is pressing Hamas. Qatar is leveraging Hamas ties. Jordan and the others are giving legitimacy but urging restraint. And there's this consistent balancing act. I don't think anybody in the world has got as difficult a job as Bibi Netanyahu right now, with President Trump right there on his heels. And, you know, again, we see this prophetic tie-in. Egypt again, strange alliances. These are words your dad said. 2 years. We can see that there is a visible fulfillment waiting to take place. And so, you know, there's a lot more to this, but I know for the sake of time, Donné, I'm looking at the screen, we've actually run out of time, but we do have a much longer prophecy of your dad's that is absolutely wild that I know we're going to want to play, but I think we're probably going to have to move that over to the partner section for today because of time and also because you were saying some of the sensitivity of what we want to share.
Yes. So for those of you who are not partnered with us, it's very easy to do it. The information will be on the screen right now as you're watching me. And we're having to do this. Part of the reason is because we've had to deal with a lot of censorship issues. And so there's that. And then also, you know, there's some more personal things that we like to share with our partners. That maybe, especially me sometimes, and I know Christie as well feels this way, but sometimes we don't really want everything we think and feel out there on social media. I last week shared some things about my children and my family. And so for these more sensitive topics, we have our Prophecy Vault partnership. And if you're not a member, I encourage you to join. It's really easy. It is not expensive. It's only $7 or more a month. There's so much in our Prophecy Vault. Not only do we have an upgraded prophecy database with some excellent tools, but we have the School of the Prophets, teachings, and our commentary as well on some of these things. And like I just said, there's a lot of things that we can't discuss on social media and some things that are just more personal. And so what we're going to do now is we have a prophecy also from August 30th of 2014. We saw some of it now today, but we're going to, we have a much longer clip that we're going to look through with our partners only. So we're going to say goodbye to you here right now, and we're going to go over and keep discussing and analyzing prophecy in the Prophecy Vault. So join now if you haven't. If you're already a partner with us, just hop over there and you'll be able to see the rest of what we're going to discuss today in regards to Israel and Hamas, the Middle East, Egypt, the 2-year timeline, and there's more. And so thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Christie, for joining me as usual. And we will see our partners in the Prophecy Vault now. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week on Analysis. Hello, friends. I'm Donné Clement Petruska, and I am honored to invite you to something truly extraordinary, the Kim Clement Prophecy Vault. Now you can gain unprecedented access to my father's entire digitized video archive, every prophetic moment, Every powerful teaching, every anointed worship session is now available to you in the Prophecy Vault. Plus, I'm excited to share that my dad's special School of the Prophets teachings are included, offering you deep, transformative lessons on hearing God's voice and understanding his revelations. Your partnership is crucial. Not only will you gain access to these incredible resources, but you'll also help us continue the vital work of preserving, digitizing, and adding new Kim Clement material to the archives. I'm inviting you to step into the Kim Clement Prophecy Vault. Let's embark on this journey of revelation together, and I can't wait to see you inside. We have Andrew Sorcini from Beverly Hills Precious Metals with us today. Someone has a 401k. Can they take some of that and purchase gold as an investment for their future?
They can, and it's a great way to do it, because if you have an IRA, a government TSP account, a 401k from a company that you used to work at but don't work at anymore, or if you still work at the company and you're over 59 and a half, these can be rolled over into a precious metals IRA. And if you were to speak to your financial advisor about it, they'll tell you, oh, this is a taxable event. They'll tell you things like gold and silver are volatile. But really, the thing is, they don't want you to get into precious metals because it doesn't benefit them monetarily. I'm here to tell you that your accounts can be rolled into a precious metals IRA without it being a taxable event. You would own real gold and silver that is stored in a third-party depository that's insured in a lockbox with your name on it.
So if someone goes to bh-pm.com, is that the correct website? Okay, and that's going to be on the bottom of the screen. If they go there today, what do they need to do?
Okay, so there's an online form there, and the form, almost every page on the website has the online form. So you just fill in your first name, last name, email address, telephone number, say that Kim Clement sent you, or the House of Destiny. We'll know what you mean. And in the notes section, be as detailed as you can. Sometimes people put things in there like, I'm a complete novice. I really don't understand precious metals. I've been wanting to understand. I want to invest, but really I need more information first. Then put that in there. If you're someone that's been investing in gold and silver for years and really don't need a consultation, you just want to check prices, then put that in there.
Everybody watching, if you are interested in precious metals, this is where you want to go. Thanks again.
Thank you.